Hi, it's Beau, live from my bed. I'm not live. Um, this next episode is really special, I think, and important to me. And there's a few things I want to address in it. I was gonna like slice this into it, but like the less editing I have to do, the better. So I'm just gonna preface at the beginning. Number one, I make mention to someone's child and then I jump to drugs. I want to be extremely clear that the person I'm talking about has a mental disability. There's no drugs involved whatsoever. But it was her like medical information that this person was looking for. So that's the first amendment. Two, I say I never saw her again after that. I did. I saw her at one of my kids' birthday parties, my bonus kids' birthday parties, but never again in a sense of we're going to commune together intentionally. And I think, too, something I've been thinking on in terms of this conversation that the podcast is about, I think that there's probably a hope or an expectation that as time goes by and things get fuzzy and memories wane and other experiences happen, there's this underlying sense that things will just kind of turn into the mythology of it all, right? Like, well, who really remembers anymore? And maybe I said that, maybe I didn't say that. Like, it is very important to me to be specific and clear about things that did happen and didn't happen. As a survivor of abusive situations, I struggle with this a lot. And it's a little bit obsessive. You can ask Terrence. But it has to be as close to not perfect, but it has to be intentional in the what did happen and what didn't happen. Because it's really easy to gaslight someone out of their experience when you start changing things, shifting things to soften things for the mythology in hopes that it'll kind of all just turn into vapor one day. I'm not at that point at all. And I want to be very clear about that. So enjoy the show. Is it going? It's my first solo podcast. It's my first solo podcast. I have been wanting to do a solo one for a while, and I have like all these little test clips, but I got super intimidated because I get lost in my thoughts, and then I'm like, whatever, I'm just blathering on. But the time has come. I have notes. I have notes. I have news. I have drama. I have a little bit of everything all rolled into one. And I'm wearing my good mom sweater that I love so much. And I think that's where I'm going to start is the good news. If you've seen Wicked. Good Mom launched all my products, not all my products, but like my first batch of here we go. We're doing this new venture. I've been working on it since July. And this past weekend, we had our first, I'm going to cry. I can feel it. I'm going to cry. This past weekend, we had our first pop-up shop. And we called it our family-owned business. Terrence came and like set everything up for me so beautifully. I reached out to my friend Leah and got some mannequins. We didn't end up using the mannequins, but like she was just like, I got mannequins for you. I got torsos, I got heads, I got arms. And so that's a little weird sitting over there right now. And we did it with several other like local makers and shop owners and stuff. And so this was a world that I was really like looking forward to getting into. I've had ideas over the years, but I didn't really know how to put them into fruition. And it's all come together when it's supposed to come together because now I have the brand that it was meant to be. the mission that I was meant to have. And then I get to work with a bunch of my good friends. My friend Michaela runs Say Hey There Studio. Michaela and I go way back. And she worked with me on coming up with this beautiful logo, which I love so much. I know it's backwards on the video, but like just the font. I'm a font bitch. Like I love it so much. And then it's established 1984, the year that I was born, the year my mother became a mom. It harkens back to the brand's like retro aesthetic. So I love that. And then I got to work with my girlfriend Maria, who runs a company called Bell Merch, and she can hook you up with what do you want? You want hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, like the good stuff. So I designed the sweater through them with her. And she's also an Aries too, and I love her. And then I get to work with my girlfriend Ariel, who runs Lily Creative House. That's where we did the first pop-up. And she's like taken like just random beautiful, she's an amazing photographer, and she's taken random beautiful pictures to help celebrate the brand. And so it's been a lot of girl power and a lot of kid power. All the kids, all 5 of my kids are like, good mom, good mom, good mom. We got hats and they're like in the pictures on the website. And then my kids are going to help me deliver stuff tonight. And so it's been really good. And it's been really exciting. And also I'm really like in over my head when it comes to website, IT, shop, all of that kind of stuff. But I'm just giving myself a little grace and taking one thing at a time because it is new to me. I really love it though. It's been good. What else is happening in life, in the world? We're in Mercury retrograde right now, and retrograde is retrograding, like across like all fronts, like work stuff, theater stuff, personal relationships, communication. Like it is not pretty, and it's all culminating on Sunday. I think it's a full moon in Gemini, and that is just really, really, really unpredictable, which is terrifying, quite honestly. What the fuck else could happen? Today I want to get into, I haven't really known how to like broach this because there's several different angles that I could come at it from, right? And I want to make sure I'm coming at it from an angle that stays true to myself and my heart, not diving into gossip, shit talking land. And so I don't actually have a plan. I'm just going to do the thing I normally do, which is just like wing it and speak from the heart and hope that it resonates with people. Yeah. So this past year and a half has been a really transformational place for me. Like really deep movement in myself. And like, you know, when you're like in therapy or you're doing shadow work or you're like doing the work and you like have a trigger and you don't know, like, it's like a setback. It's like, oh my God, I thought I was healed and I'm not. But that, right. And that's part of it. That's part of it is realizing, oh no, this is actually still a trigger for me. And even if you are healed, which is a journey of itself, you're gonna be triggered. Like what's different between the way that you handle it today versus the way you would have handled it a year and a half ago? Like that's like the measure. Not for you to be like somebody fucks with you and then you're like some Zen god on a mountaintop. That's not the goal. The goal is to be better than you were before. So I'm living my life and there was a friend on Facebook and everyone was congratulating him and I noticed like I couldn't see his tag. And so I went to tag to like check him out and I was blocked. And I immediately, what do you do? What did I do wrong? What have I done? What did I do? What can I apologize for? I went into that world. And so I just messaged him and I was like, hey, I noticed we're not connected on Facebook anymore. And I just wanted to see if there's something that I said or did that I need to make amends for. Because I couldn't think of anything, but we've worked together and we worked together in a very like sensitive world, right? Where You have to really like tread lightly and be sensitive of other people's identities, statuses, like all of that. And I'm not always great at that. So I was like, oh my God, did I say something like wrong at the fundraiser or something like that? And that was back in March. And he gets back to me and he's like, I don't have any beef with you, but I just know too much about your situation with this friend that we're going to get into. And so I just removed myself because I feel like you're gaslighting your social media followers. Well, I saw fucking red. My vision when I get like, when something like that happens, my vision goes like this, like physically like this. Like I can't, there's no peripheral vision. And my body gets hot. And then all I want to do is react. Like, all I want to do is like, you don't know shit, like react. And I didn't. And I didn't react outwardly to him. I went to my trusted friends and I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? And we just kind of like worked through it. I think it took me maybe like an hour to finally get back to him and finally like figure out how to get back to him, right? Because all you want to do is go into either defense mode or interrogation mode, which are both like reactionary. I think it's harrowing when, I know that's like such a big word, but it is. It's like, I don't know what harrow is, but like, it's harrowing when someone that you don't talk to says that they know too much about your situation. It's like, you've been in my therapy sessions? You've been in my heart, you've been in my head, you've been in my coffee conversations, you've been in my tears, you've been in like, you know too much about my situation. Well, I don't even know what you know about my situation because who knows about my situation if they haven't spoken to me? And I know what's happening behind the scenes. Like I know that I'm walking into, I think my third smear campaign of my adult life. So this isn't my first rodeo with any of it, right? But it's what I've learned from this happening beforehand is how I want to be when it happens. And so I responded to him, that feels like a lot of projection. And quite honestly, you don't know anything about my situation with her. You know what she's told you. You know what she wants you to know. You know what's going to make her sound a certain way. Other than that, you don't know anything. And I just wish you the best. And I wish you the best with your work. And I'll leave it at that. Paraphrased, but that's basically it. So he comes back to me with a longer text, right? And I kind of skimmed this text. I couldn't even tell you what it said because I just skimmed it, because what it was a bunch of somebody else's story. It was somebody else's something else. Had nothing to do with me in my reality, in my world, in the world that where I'm like living, breathing, acting, doing. It had nothing to do with any thoughts that came from me, or it was just a lot of story and a lot of projection and a lot of like taking that from over here and putting it here. So I didn't really respond to it. And I just ended up saying like, I just wanted to make sure I hadn't done anything that I need to make amends for. You let me know that I didn't. And so we're on the same page, right? That's it. I was still spiraling about it though, because now you're like, what is being said? Like for someone to have such a strong reaction that way, to the point where he said it was affecting his mental health. And I feel like I'm literally just sitting over here like living my everyday life. I don't have contact with this friend. We haven't really spoken since July. We've seen each other like one other time and had words, not bad words, just like any words at all. And so I was just really taken aback that I had been so offensive to someone to the point where I'm affecting their mental health, and the point that they've reached a conclusion that I'm gaslighting my social media followers. inside of all of that, I had, brought up work because we had worked together. And he said, like, what does this have to do with work? Have I done something that you would deem unprofessional? And it's like, what does this have to do with work? And I was just like, well, the work that I work in, the work that we've worked in together, the way that I do everything is through integrity and authenticity. Like those are my top things. I'm an open book for a fucking reason. And so it does affect my work. If you think, because I can't be that same, I can't gaslight my social media followers and be a person who's in integrity. Those two things don't live together in my world. So it actually does affect the work. And you wouldn't be able to work with someone in that capacity of that sensitive tissue that we work in. I couldn't come to that field with you if I weren't authentically giving a fuck about what we're doing. And the person who authentically gives a fuck does not sit around and gaslight or manipulate people online. So that was just like what? And what it made me do was question myself. It made me question everything about me, which it's designed to do. It made me question my integrity. It made me question my authenticity. It made me question people's perception of me. It made me question, oh my God, but what did I do wrong? Like, is there anything that I've done in this past year that I'm not proud of? It took me out of knowing myself and seeing myself through someone else's story that they need me to be. Nay, nay. Nay, nay. I'm not doing that. And I'm going to say it did take a couple of days. I wasn't as thick-skinned as I thought I would be, which is something I really want to work on, something I need to work on because I'm so used to everybody liking me. My therapist is like, why do you need everybody to like you? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Have you ever heard of people pleasing? But I need to get past that because the more I do, the more I grow, the more I push, the more polarizing it's going to get. And the more people are going to have adverse reactions to me, which are mirrors to themselves, but probably that's over their head, I'm sure. And I expected him to know me or see me better. That was one thing he said too. He was like, I think you think we're closer than we are. And I was like, I don't think I'm overshooting our relationship at all. But you're not a stranger to me, So that was a whole thing. And so then I was spiraling. I was like, I'm gonna go online. I'm gonna go to my podcast. I'm gonna tell the whole story. I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, I don't actually need to do any of that. Like, I'm just living my life and I'm just gonna keep living my life doing that. So then yesterday, it's my friend's been calling it a canary in the coal mine. I hear another little smear thing about me that's come from somebody else's underworld. And this one hits closer to home. And again, I spiraled. I really can't help myself, and I would love tips on how to not do that because it affects my entire day when I hear something like that. And then I go back and forth about how to respond. I'm not trying to react, but I react to everyone around me. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I need advice. I need advice. I need advice. I need advice. And it's hard for me to go to that quiet place, your knowing place, because my nervous system is so like jacked through the fucking roof when it happens. So I spiraled on that too. And then again, I'm like, wait a second. These things aren't true. These things aren't true of you. These things aren't in your heart. And your friend heard that and they know that and they came to you with it. And of course, you don't know who else is out there hearing things that don't know you that well or who don't come to you. But this is what a smear campaign is designed to do. And you know this. So you have to come back to center and you have to remember who you are and not let someone else with a nasty agenda shake you. That's it. Way easier said than done, but very important. My first smear campaign, I'm sure I've had more, but my first major one was I had a stalker. And I'm going to do like a whole show about this because a lot of people have had stalkers, but I had a stalker for 5 years that really uprooted a lot of my life. Like right after I had Oscar from like 2018 up until 2022, I was dealing with her. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about this type of person. I learned a lot about narcissism. I learned a lot about how this is all shame-based, how they project something negative onto you. She took these 20-page color dossiers and took them all around to the schools that I was working in, trying to get me fired from jobs. She would send videos to boards that I was serving on. She said that I sexualized my children, that I was racist against white people. I mean, really ridiculous, but really like damning. And I'd never been through something like that. So in 2018, like I ran away. Like Rob and I packed up the kids and I was like, you have to get me the fuck out of here. And we dealt with that for a really long time. And then I finally was like just done with it. I wanted to move on with my life. I was opening my big show in Denver. And so I went to her place of employment and I was like, this is still happening. This has been happening for a long time. And a week later, I had a protection order served at me from her, listing everything that she had ever done as though I had done it to her. And then I spent, I don't know how much time after that, like several months in the court system. I missed my first week of rehearsals in Denver because I thought we were going to go face to face in court. And she ended up settling right before that. And then the day after I settled with her, she announced that she was running for state office. So there's that. That was the first one. That was the big one. The second time I dealt with this, I was putting up my show called Buffalo Women, and I had fired one director who was a friend of mine. It was a hard decision, but I sought counsel. Like, I feel like this is the right thing to do because the way that he's reacting to me is not the way I want to be reacted to as a writer from a director. So I'm standing up for myself. And I think this is like the key thing. Every time you stand up for yourself against a person who's capable of doing this kind of stuff, this is when you get in trouble. The key is to make you scared. And the key is to make you afeared of what they'll say. Scared and afeared is the same fucking word, Beau. What the fuck? But it is. This is what I've learned in this sordid past of mine. So I fired this director. I get a call the next day from a mutual friend of me and this director. And she's saying, I think I can direct your show. I did not vet her. I had known her for years. I trusted her. We were friends. She had done my other shows. And I was very close friends with her sister, who I trusted with everything. So I didn't think twice about it. Yeah, this is great. Perfect. You're in. I didn't at the end. And then I handed over basically the last 3 years of my life's work to her. A huge mistake. Huge. We had meetings with my artistic director. We were in line with everything. Everything felt so great. And then we got into the actual rehearsals and I felt like I was being sabotaged. And I want to keep it in the world of concrete things that happened. Not this world of like, I feel like this, because the feeling stuff isn't tangible. Concrete things that happened. Canceled rehearsals. Triangulated conversations between the casts and the crew and myself. I thought I was walking into a production meeting one day, and she's having a face-off with the artistic director, who's also a good friend of mine. I say, we need more time, so like, can we go in and do some character work or something instead of canceling rehearsal week 1 of a brand new musical? And she's like, no, we won't lose time. But we didn't have rehearsal yesterday, and we didn't have rehearsal the day before, and so we're 12 hours behind. And all of this culminating to these rumors about me. I only care about the work. I don't care about the people. I'm acting white. I can't even remember like all of the other terrible things that were said, but I'm literally just like, we need to get to work. And that culminated with me standing in front of my entire cast, apologizing for things that I didn't even think that I did. Like, I'm operating the way I always operate. And the way that I always operate is a fucking success. And I know that that's how that sounds, but it's like, I don't get into interpersonal conflicts. If I get into interpersonal conflicts, we talk it out and we fix it in this professional setting. This was outside of the realm of any work that I've done from New York to LA back to Omaha. This was an unusual set of circumstances. It wasn't normal. And so I sought counsel then to my friends that I had worked with in New York and my agent, and they were also like, Beau, this isn't normal. How can you get out of this? Well, I got out of it because the show blew up. And I went there that day and I was apologizing. I was apologizing because it's like, if this has been me, if I have offended, I'm going to make it right. And if I haven't offended and I've been made to feel this way for someone else's agenda, I'm going to do what I can do to save our show. So it really didn't matter to me, like the ego of it, the ego of not apologizing. It's more like, no, what do I need to do to steer this ship right? And it cost me everything. I also thought, which is really stupid, that if I show up humble and open and apologetic, then that person will also say, okay, I've also made mistakes. Let's get back on track starting today. No, bitch, that's not the game. That's not the game anybody's playing. They're playing a different game. You can't play from the heart with somebody who's playing a completely different game. And so the show didn't go on. Everybody got their paycheck. And it took me over a year to get my confidence back after that. It fucked me up really bad. I think that whole week, like, I could barely get out of bed. There was a day I couldn't feed my kids. I lost 10 pounds in 7 days. It was outrageous. And then she went on and she did that same thing at another theater and was successful at it. And had already done that same thing at a different theater before that. And because of our lack of conversation as a community, and because of our culture of silence, right? Because you don't want to smear people, because you are scared. You don't want to be inside of this drama. Nobody's connecting all of these dots, and these people are just allowed to continue to move through the world doing this to people because we're not talking about it. So that was my second one. And now I feel as though my former best friend is launching a smear campaign against me. Ultimately, I think because I have a relationship with her sister who she doesn't have a relationship with, and ultimately because people do this so that they can keep eyes off of them and put eyes on someone else. And she's really good at it. She's done it before. I've participated in it with her before. I've recently reached out to people who I feel I helped enable her against to apologize for my role in it. And that's why I couldn't get mad at this friend who blocked me, because I'm just like, no, I know what that's like. I rode hard for her too. I would block anybody. I know how the operation works. I know how the sausage is getting made behind the scenes, right? So I've in turn apologized to people, because again, how do I want to operate in the world? How do I want to move forward? In this case, I think that it's easier for her to, which is classic when you're a person who's doing a smear campaign, you have to become the victim, right? So you have to make it seem like someone did you so dirty and you're the victim and poor you. And now the smearing starts. Well, the truth is, in the world of things that happened and didn't happen, I didn't do anything to her. I did things that she didn't like grow boundaries, like not give away someone else's important information, like support her sister, who in their family dynamic, which is not mine to speak on, is the scapegoat. I did things like talk about my real life experiences. I went on this rant on my Instagram a couple of like last month sometime. And I was just like so fed up. I was just fed up with everybody's everything, like everybody's bullshit agenda, everybody's like toxic trauma, my own included. I was just like boom, 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 boom. And I think that kind of like launched everything, because I mentioned things that she had said and done. And in none of this am I saying like, oh, but I'm so perfect and I'm so infallible or whatever. I'm sure that it hurts her to see, or angers her, I don't really know, to see me at her sister's wedding or supporting her sister's marriage with a person who's also my friend, who's a great person, because her family didn't support them. I'm sure that there is feelings about that. Those feelings don't equal a smear campaign. And the bottom line for me, in the most simplest way of giving backstory without like launching into story, is her sister and her husband, those two, supported Terrence and I in the darkest time of our lives, in the darkest moments of needing support, especially Terrence, after like the truth of this thing that had been happening with him like all came out. Those two were there for us. On the other side of it, he was getting smeared, blackballed, isolated, ostracized, and obviously that affected me too. And on this side, he was getting loved and patience. And our friend said to him one day, like, I don't think I've ever told you this, but like, I believe you when you tell us all of these things that have happened and the way that you've been affected. She said, I believe you. And that what that did to his face, right? So we support them back. Thank you for being with us in our darkness, and we're here for you guys in your joy. And that's it. None of that is about anybody else. That is about us being supportive of the people who have loved and supported us out loud. And that stirs up whatever it does. And I thought that me and this friend could get past it. For a long time, even after all of the things that I had heard about what she had said about Terrence, a lot of exaggerations, a lot of taking something that has a smidgen of truth in it and then like twisting it, spinning it up. And when she doubled down on all of these really harsh and unforgivable things that she said about Terrence, I assumed that there would be a moment of backtracking, of saying, I overreacted when I called all of these other important people in your life and I took over the narrative without ever talking to you. Everything that everyone knew about what happened came from me. It didn't come from Beau. It didn't come from the person that was going through it. It all got filtered through this one person. And so there's really no way to go clean that up afterward. There's no way to go like, who knows what, and like, you know, and who can waste time when you're in a place of like really raw vulnerability and shame. That's not your focus. Your focus isn't the outside world, right? It's the inner world of yourself. And so over time, I mean, she still doesn't know to this day, like what the truth is, but espoused it as though she did. And instead of ever backtracking and saying otherwise, just you want to double down and triple down and hold on to it. And there are people that have that spirit of inner reflection of saying, I got to come clean. I'm fucked up and I'm sorry. Or I didn't get everything right. And I've looked at my actions and how they've affected you and what you said, and I'm sorry. And there are people who just won't do that. And if you're a person A who will do that, you have to not expect that from a person B, because you are expecting something that they cannot give. Maybe it's an unwillingness to, but also maybe they cannot for whatever reason that may be. And what do you do with that? You just kind of have to like accept what it is, accept that and move on. And unfortunately, with that comes a lot more fallout and a lot more chaos, instead of everyone coming to the table with, this was a really crazy incident and none of us handled this great, and can we please get back to a baseline, and can we please like come together and just understand not only the truth of what happened, but each other's truths and how this affected us. That's my fucking dream, or it was for a really long time, is like, how can I get everybody in one room and just go there? Just go there. That's where I actually feel most comfortable. I feel way less comfortable with conversations that kind of lie up here on the surface level. I feel way more comfortable when we're diving deep, having the hard conversations, crying, challenging each other, challenging ourselves, and coming out stronger on the other side. That is where I like to live. You can't ask everybody to live there with you. There's no Ursula come in to give us legs. Poor unfortunate soul. Our kids are all best friends, and I really wanted to maintain those friendships to the point where I was willing to put my needs on the back burner, or what she had done to Terrence on the back burner, because what I saw it as was, well, Terrence and her were best friends for 10 years. They were very close friends. So maybe this information coming out like rocked her world. And like those first few days after it did, we were saying some crazy shit. Like we didn't know what was happening. We were like, just like extrapolating like anything, like, look at this. I have got a map right here. All of that. So I know what like everybody's minds were just like fucking hijacked. But in the aftermath of that, where I was looking for some time and some space to just kind of like let things fall and see the truth of him and hear the truth from him, she went a different route and stirred all the pots. Never had another conversation with him. Let me know he wasn't allowed invited to their house. Never said, hey, my best friend of 10 years, can we sit down and talk about everything that happened? Never heard from them again. And so and that was deeply upsetting to him. They said that they wanted to be there for me and that they loved me and that they wanted to help me through this. And nobody's called. Nobody's done anything. But her sister and her sister's husband were there for us through all of that. And at the same time, they're going through it with her and the family on their own terms about, why the family's not supporting their marriage. Well, they need people. We are those people. Of course we're going to fucking support you. And it's not about them. It's about your love and our relationship. The end. And so I think that for her, in my most generous world, people act and react and double down. And there is a core of pain or shame and fear underneath. I can't sit here and just think that, well, she's just an evil, horrible, heartless bitch. Because then that will belie a lot of other components of our relationship where she was, I have texts where I said, you've always seen me good and bad. Like, we were incredibly close. And I thought and wanted badly for us to get back to that. But I don't think that was meant to be like universally. I think the universe like stepped in and said, we're not actually going to be doing that for whatever reason. And I think the reason is coming to light with these new things that I'm hearing about myself. I'm like, oh, I can't have someone like that in my close circle. And it sucks. And it really sucks for my kids. They don't know this yet. It sucks for me. My friends were like, you're grieving. And I was like, I'm not grieving. Like, I'm pissed off. I'm not grieving. But no, I am. Because I thought that all of us were going to grow old together. I had visions of her and Terrence and him and his ex-wife, and she's watched their kids grow up. She was pregnant with his ex-wife and she was pregnant with me, right? Like, we were entwined. And there was this video that was on her Instagram that was like all of us had like the 4th of July concert with the fireworks and stuff like that, and like we were a family. And so I thought that when all of this came out with Terrence, that we would do what a family does, which is rally around each other and support and love this person who needs us right now to get to the next thing. But families are made different. That is what my family would do. I don't know what her family would do, but having seen what I've seen, I don't think that we're coming at this idea of family in the same way. And so they just never talked to him again and told him that he owed them accountability. So he wrote a letter that said, I think that our old relationship would want me to tell you that I'm sorry and like have accountability. He goes, but I'm still unsure of what I have accountability for to you. I have to have accountability to myself, and I have to have accountability to my partner. And then he went into the aftermath of this coming out and the ways that you all have treated me and the ways and the things that I've heard that you've said about me belie all of that. And I'm asking you to be accountable for your words. Well, that never happened. That never happened. She was pissed off about that letter. And I thought the letter was a good idea because it's like, well, okay, they're saying that your actions hurt them. They did. Of course, they were their friends. Like, what we do affects them and vice versa. Like, I understand that part. I can grasp that. But then you in turn should be able to say, like, your actions have also hurt me. And I was hoping that that would be the thing that, like, okay, now we can all like sit at a round table. I mean, I was looking up stupid shit like healing circles and shamans and like, you know, and like whatever the fuck, like what can we sit down and like communally come back together? That was never on the agenda. But it was like held over me as like this thing I would say, like, what's it gonna take for like to get all four of us in a room? She's like, it's just gonna take time. The things that he said in that letter just broke my heart. I'm like, okay, but use that as a reason to like find some middle ground. Like things don't have to be how they used to be, but like I kept trying is my point. I went to Hoffman at the end of March, and this was heavy on my mind. I mean, I'm supposed to be working on like my relationship with my mother, my relationship with my father, my relationship with myself, and I'm like working on my relationship with my friends. And I had all these ideas about like what I'm going to say when I get out of here, how I'm going to pull us all back together, what I'm going to do. Like I'm going to save this. But when I graduated Hoffman and I came back home, the magic of that work that I had done did not affect me the way that I thought it would. It gave me boundaries. And I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need to go out to dinner with her and cry it out like her and I had planned in the back of a dark restaurant, which is one of my favorite things to do. I didn't need to pull us all back together. What I needed to do was move forward with myself and my highest self. And that's what I did. I stopped asking for more from other people. I needed to just have enough with what I have. I needed to stop putting my expectations on other people to do what I would do. And that was one of the biggest takeaways is like, I have to be enough for me right here, right now. And so I didn't come back and ask for a sit down healing circle anymore. Just let everybody be, which is like this new Mel Robbins book is coming out called Let Them. And so this was my just let them, let everybody do what they're going to do. So the last time I saw her was in July, and she came to my birthday party, and like we hadn't done a lot of one-on-one stuff, but like I wasn't done, wanting to fix our relationship. And obviously she wasn't either because she was out with me. So I was just like, give it time. And we had talked about like her sister's wedding and stuff like that. I said after my birthday, I was like, I think you guys handle it really well for not, being really on speaking terms. She was like, I didn't want you to feel awkward. I was like, I didn't. I think you guys handled it really well. So thank you. I hope that you guys still work it out. So then the last time I see her, it's in July, and we're about to get into crazy back to school travel season. And I really wanted our kids to all be together one more time. So I was messaging, I really want the kids to like be at the pool. I'll come pick them up. I'll do whatever we need to do if I can get the kids together. And she was like, great. And I'll come too. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And I remember in my head, like, we're not talking about her sister. We're not talking about Terrence. We're talking about Good Mom. Because I was just like I just finalized the logo. She's got some big travel coming up. Like, we're keeping it there because that's how we need to rebuild. And I think that she came to that pool day with a different plan. Because she's asking me what I knew about her niece, about her sister's daughter. And normally I would, give up all the information I know, which actually wasn't a lot anyway. But what I said was, right now, if it's not about me or my family, it's just none of my business. And I saw just a different side of her come out when I said that. She got really pissed off, basically. And started like in with this like whole story about, well, you wouldn't, if my kids were on drugs, you wouldn't tell me because it doesn't affect you. It's not about Beau, like all of that stuff. And then I was just like, you made everything about Terrence, about you. And we just get into this thing. And the thing wasn't even about the thing. I don't really fully know what the thing was about. It's maybe about all the unsaid things that had happened. Like, she's like, you're the reason why my sister's not talking to me. I'm like, I remember actively like, oh, you think I'm the reason your sister's not talking to you? Like, talk about a lack of accountability. Like, I was just like, okay, absolutely the fuck not. And then I think what really showed me what I needed to see, which in terms, I guess I'm grateful for this day because it showed me what I needed to see to kind of just like let go. She said, if you ever wanted us to be friends with Terrence again, you would never have posted pictures from my sister's wedding. Okay. Well, that lets me know that there's just a different agenda here. That lets me know that it wasn't about Terrence taking accountability, or it wasn't about like anything that I could have said or done. It wasn't about crying it out in the back of a restaurant. It wasn't about time. It wasn't about sitting down around a fire. It was about something completely else. It's about whatever you can leverage to get what you want. Well, then that's just a lose-lose situation for everybody. And that was, and then it involved the kids. All of this happened right in front of all of our children. And then she told the kids they'd never see each other again. The next day she did call, and I let her talk to them, and she apologized to them, which I thought was, I'm like, okay, that's my girl, not this fucking person. And then she went on her trip, and we never spoke again. And then her sister got married, and I helped host the wedding with Terrence. And then I went on my rant on Instagram, and then she blocked me, and now here we are. And I'm walking into a smear campaign where other people know so much about my situation when I've never told any of this fucking story to anybody. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee right now because that was a lot to get out. And I could go deeper on all those talking points, but I think this is a good cursory kind of like, these are the things that happened. There was at no point, like some major, like before that July thing, some major confrontation, some major like sit down talk. I guess too, and I'm reluctant to add this and maybe I'll cut it out, but I guess too, I will say that along the way, after all of the things that she had said about Terrence had gotten back to me, my best friend came to town and she was like, she's saying all of these things and we're scared for you. And I'm like, that's not reality at all. Like, they were concerned that I was like brainwashed and other words. So it was bad. And that's when it tipped me off to, oh, I don't think this person's telling truths. We're not on the same team. We're not playing the same game. And so then after that, every time I heard something from her, I would ask the person that she told me said it. I heard this. Did you say this? And time again, no, I never said that. No, I didn't do that. Her sister included. Her sister's husband included. I've thought that maybe that's what she meant by, you're the reason my sister's not talking to me. Maybe me saying, this is what was said, is this true, is a point of contention because I'm asking for clarity and I'm asking for truth. When kind of the MO is like, you're just to believe what I say and you just don't question it. But that's an old version of me that does that. That's not today's Beau. If you are a person who lies and who manipulates and creates chaos, you shouldn't trust me. You should not trust me. Because for you to trust me means I would have to be in that same game as you, and I'm never going to live there. I look back on this past year and a half, and I look at where I was with Terrence, and I'm so fucking grateful that this horrible, heartbreaking, horrific thing happened because it woke me all the way up. When I started falling in love with Terrence, I was married. My entire relationship started as a 2-week affair. And then I can't double life like that. What got me to the point that I would do that to my husband and to my family? This is the kind of stuff that I finally got to unlock because I was so shaken awake. Why do I monkey branch from relationship to relationship? Why do I need everybody to like me? Why am I a people pleaser? I got to go back and unlock all of this. The day I left for Hoffman, I was fighting with my mom. I came back, I haven't had a fight with her since. And it was because of the work that I've done inside on myself. And I don't think that I ever would have acknowledged all of these patterns if it weren't for my world being completely shaken up and erased. Start new. Scorched earth. There is so much like profound like healing and acceptance you can find in tragedy, in the fucked up stuff that happens. And like I thought it happened with the stalker. I thought it happened with the show. These things were fortifying me to get to this point where I'm really ready to like take a good hard look at myself. And once you go into that dark space and you take a good hard look at yourself, you can't look at anybody else the same way again. I can't sit there and okey doke with you and gossip with you because that's not me anymore. Those aren't my stories to tell. I'm not interested in that. I told Terrence, while we were kind of going through all of this, I said, my life is open. I can't run Agrabella Orbis. I can't do Beaufield. I can't be myself and encourage other people to tell their stories. And then I have a shady home life. That was part of my breakdown with Rob. I don't want a shady home life. I don't want someone who doesn't know themselves enough to catch themselves in their spirals and their darkness. Those two things don't coexist. So, I know that this is coming down the pike. I know the operation that happens over there. And so this is me confronting that head on. This is me saying, when you hear negative things about me, let me be the first to tell you I told you so. I wish nothing but fucking healing for her and for their family, because that's no way to live. One thing I really noticed after July, when we stopped talking, I noticed an anxiety lift in my chest. I had anxiety if I didn't talk to her every day. I had anxiety if we didn't connect. I was always scared I had done something wrong or she was mad at me or something like that. I felt that lift. And I also felt a sense of like calm waters. And in us not talking, life got calmer. There was no big, chaotic, dramatic anything anymore. And I had convinced myself or been convinced that I was the creator of all of this like chaos. But that wasn't true. My life got more mellow. Conversations, there are no burning hot like conversations of something that's going wrong or somebody's done something or I've got all of it. Like none of that existed until until my rant and I kind of opened the door and I let it back in by addressing it at all. I think my key takeaway is just that it's this Nikki Giovanni quote, actually. May she rest in peace. She just passed away. And once you know yourself, you don't have to worry about anything else. People are going to say and think what they want to say and think, and they can. And they can. I cannot let it shake my core. I know who I am. She knows who I am. My kids know who I am. My family knows who I am. I'm walking through the world so unashamed of the way that I've behaved or carried myself. I've got nothing to hide. And I vowed when I was at Hoffman, you set vows and intentions for yourself. I vowed to live free. And what that means for me is exactly this. It's exactly like, no, I'm not. I don't live in the shadows. I live in microphones. I don't over here and then, come be victim and cry about it. I'm not a victim. Literally, my smear campaign survivor shirts from Good Mom are on sale right now. Not sale, but like you can buy them. I have a quick top 11 list that I'm just going to skim through really quick. And this is for people who haven't been through this before or who may be faced with it. I feel like people go through it and they don't talk about it because they get scared and because there's shame involved and because that's kind of the way of it. It's conditioned to make you feel small. It's conditioned to make you feel scared. So my number one top thing is to stay true to yourself. Don't get swept up in other people's stories about you. They want you to forget who you are at your core. You don't have to do that. You fight to come back home to yourself. Number 2, be humble. Apologizing to the people that I helped hurt mattered greatly to me because that is who I want to show up as in the world. And it comes from a place of genuinely, genuine regret that I didn't see it and that I didn't see my part in it. And I'm fucking sorry. And some people have responded to me and some people haven't. Number 3, keep doing you. I know that I conduct myself in a way that I'm proud of. I am exceedingly proud of the way that I've moved for the past year and a half. And I need to just keep pushing forward. I can't allow myself to get stuck in someone else's story. Nay, nay. Number 4, have emergency therapy if you need it. I was triggered. I called my therapist and I went to work specifically on that thing. And even though I'm not active in therapy right now, it was a great tool. And then I'll see her in 2 weeks and then I'll go back to my graduated status. Number 5, listen to your gut. The end. If you think someone is doing something, they might be doing it. Make sure that gut is a gut feeling, not like a anxiety feeling. And I don't know how that feels in your body, but for me, there's a difference between like my intuition and paranoia. There's a piece inside of intuition that is like, Beau, stop fooling yourself. 6, believe what they're showing you. That's the hardest part. Because you showed me great things too. And I believe that in you. And I believe that you are very capable of doing great harm because of the other things that you've shown me. And so I have to stop just believing all the good, and I have to believe what you've shown me. When you say, if you hadn't done this, we wouldn't have done this, I have to believe that. That's hard because it's also an ego blow, because it makes you feel like you're stupid and duped. But you shouldn't feel like that. Showing up as a good, wholehearted person who has good intentions is never a bad thing. You're not responsible for how someone else shows up. Number 7, don't go around defending yourself. This person and their influence is smaller than you think. Address things as they come. Don't seek them out. I actually learned a lot watching Terrence navigate his friends falling off the planet and like him navigating the things that weren't true. And it was really hard to actually watch it. There was this day, and I don't know if he would love that I say this, but like there was this day, it was after our friend's birthday party, and we couldn't find him, and he was in the car and he was crying, and he was just like, I was taken advantage of and everyone left me. And we all just like gathered around him, just like holding him and like watching someone that you love so much go through pain that you can't fix from people that you both loved. It's terrible. And I think too, if you can do that to him, like my kids are nothing to you. You know, like you can love them, but love comes in different ways. And like if the way that you love people is abandon them and grant you, do I think that you owed Terrence anything? No, you don't owe another adult anything. So I want to be clear about that too. Like, it's not like, how dare you abandon it? Like, you're not our fucking parents. But the choices that were made say who you are. So that's another like level of like, I need to like protect me and mine. Optional. Pray for them. I am not religious at all. My mother is though. And I love when she prays. And I feel like praying is a way to help calm that nervous system. You know, like praying I just want Whatever it is that you need, I want you to have. I want you to get it. And so my prayer is that you do. My prayer is not, I don't need to start a smear campaign against you. I want you to love yourself so much that you know you don't need to do that either. That's the prayer. Whether you're talking to God, your tarot cards, the universe, whoever. Realizing that my kids will be okay. It hurts and it sucks, and pouring so much love and commitment into their friendships and then having to pull them apart is literally my biggest fear. It breaks my heart. But they can't be pawns. And I won't pawn their children. I adore their children. And unfortunately, they have gotten mixed up in it, despite every effort not to have them do that. 10, protect your family and your peace and know that you are not alone. People we love can hurt us, and hurt people. And the way that I got through everything with my stalker was my family, was my husband at the time, and my kids, and just learning all of this. The way I got through it the next time, same. The way I'm going to get through it this time, same. And hopefully it doesn't take as long to get through it this time. I guess the last thing I'll say is stop your expectations. Not everyone is going to show up how you would show up. And how dare you, how egotistical of you to think that the world should show up the way that you show up, right? So people will show up as they want to, as they can. Let them. And you keep showing up the way that you need to and want to, and the way that your vocation is in the world. That's it. Oh my God, solo podcast. I talked for a fucking hour. I did it. And I think I'm just gonna let it. I'm gonna let it be. I'm gonna let it be. So I've got some really great conversations coming up with people. I've put out some big asks. I'm hoping to step into these conversations. One of them is with Rain, and I'm going to be talking about male survivors of sexual assault, because obviously that is something that needs to be discussed that we don't talk about. I have conversations coming up about infertility and speaking with an expert on narcissism that I think can kind of like dig in more into like some of these personality types, but then give us tools on how to interact, not interact. And I want to learn all the keywords, right? We know about gray rocking, Darvo, like all of that kind of stuff. And then we're going to have some fun and talk about Bravo. And I've got a couple of really cool announcements coming up. One I'm really excited for. So thank you so much for listening. And thank you for trusting me with this hour of your life. And I will see you on the flip side. Go follow Good Mom Goods on Instagram and Good Mom Pod. We are on Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you. Bye.